It's time to geek out about some headphones, and we've got an audio specialist, Patrick Norton. We thought we should take advantage of your experience, of your expertise. You've brought some ear candy for us.
I've been out of control on headphones for the last year. My whole headphone lifestyle was pretty stable for several years, and then I got a new headphone amplifier, and then I started playing around with some new headphones, and then things got out of control. So it's been interesting, especially with Spotify doing their high definition version and Tidal coming out doing lossless versions. A lot of people, if the only thing you've ever listened with is a set of ear pods, your headphone experience sucks. Your ear monitor experience sucks, and you can do a lot better. And there's a lot more music for you to actually hear. But let me start talking about a couple things. First of all, if you are still running with the sort of, I got these MP3s somewhere and I think they're CD quality, do me a favor, go to Spotify, go to Tidal, pay the money for the premium version so you get like the 300K streaming version on Spotify or the full lossless version on Tidal, because first of all, you'll actually get all of the song for the first time. Because it is amazing the difference, and it's amazing how much music you actually lose when it's compressed. If you have a whole bunch of CDs still, that's fine too. You actually want to make either some 256K or 300K MP3s, or in my case I actually prefer FLAC, lossless audio files, so I have all of the musical information from the original CD. Cue audio nerds emailing me about how could you not recommend albums. Vinyl is where life is. I don't want to get into that right now. Vinyl's dead to me, and it's been dead to me since I was 12 years old. I gotta be honest. The most amazing deal that I've seen on headphones at this point, these are the monoprice 8323s. These are $16. These are over the ear.
So for $16, I'm not expecting super broadband, high fidelity audio.
You're not going to buy something better until you spend about $50 or $75.
Okay, so this is a nice price break.
It's a nice price break, and it's actually, they have a removable cable, so if you're the kind of person that tears apart cables, you can pop in a new cable, and they sound shockingly good. They are not going to sound, probably to most people, as good as my next step up, which is the Sony Mdr 7506. And these are kind of like a standard studio headphone. There's probably a pair of these behind the desk here. They're incredibly common in recording studios. They are fundamentally indestructible, and they have fantastic audio from the low end to the high end. And these are kind of a traditional, you can kind of see it inside of there. There's a Mylar speaker inside of there, and that's not bad. It's pretty good. And for $75, you're not going to get much better audio until you spend about $300. And that's where things get really interesting, because in the last couple years there's been a resurgence of what they call planar magnetic or ortho diagonal, or what say ortho.
It's got a lot of syllables, so it must be good.
It must be good. Hi-Fi Man's kind of led the charge in this. Odyssey's another one, Fostex. And instead of having a speaker inside of there, you've got two sets of magnets with holes in them. You can just kind of see the magnets there. And then behind that is an incredibly thin piece of plastic material. And if you can see those lines on there, that's actually conductive material. So instead of having a speaker that goes back and forth, what happens is there's magnets on either side, and they run the audio signal through those marks on the surface, the conductors on the surface of the plastic, and it creates this big wall of sound that moves towards you.
So it's not a driver inside of a headphone cup. The headphone cup is the driver.
The driver, essentially. And this is, in the last couple of years, especially Hi-Fi Man has made huge inroads. The Fostex T50 RP Mark IIIs are another huge one. The previous version, the Mark IIs, were legendary in sort of audio geek communities because people would mod them to get better sound. So what we're looking at here, this is like $300.
And these are incredibly comfortable. I put these on a little bit before.
They're a little heavy for most people. I should point out, these are the 400s, the new 400S, which is kind of the equivalent to that's out today, or the 400i. They started around $300. They look a little bit different than this, but the basic idea is the same. The 400S doesn't have quite as good a low-end audio on that. They're a little heavy for most people, but
I like the fact that the cups actually go around my ears and not onto my ears, because I know that's fatigue for me.
Do me a favor, turn to the side really quickly. This is an example of an open-backed headphone, right? And there's kind of two different versions of headphones out there. There's open back and there's closed back. And a closed back is obviously sealed, and that's going to block noise from the outside. An open headphone is obviously not only going to let noise from the outside in, but it's going to let your music out, so everybody in the office knows you're listening to Britney Spears, which may or may not be emotionally embarrassing. And that's kind of important, because while there are a lot of sealed headphones that can sound big and airy and spacious, the general rule of thumb is that you need an open headphone or some kind of semi-open back headphone to get the best audio experience. So a couple more headphones to look at if you have the money. We talked about, we should talk about Sennheiser's Momentum. These sell for about $200 new
yes,
now.
yes.
This is an amazing headphone. These started out at about $350. They now offer us, the Momentum 2 is another headphone out from this series that I think is very similar. The Momentum 2 has a slightly bigger ear cup. This is a fantastic sounding headphone for $200. If you want a more luxurious headphone, these are the, pardon me, B&W P7. These sell for $350. This is one of the best headphones you can buy for the money, and it's like strapping a BMW to your head. So if you don't think these are particularly stylish, you might like these a little bit better.
Did you just say BMW?
To your head.
So no,
look at this.
They're called BMWs?
No, they're Bowers and
Oh,
Wilkins.
okay. I was like,
British speaker
when did they start
manufacturer,
making
very
headphones?
legendary.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, I like.
But those are all example of sealed headphones. You know, as you start spending more, they get more luxurious. You get more stuff in the box. Two last ones to talk about. We talked about the Hi-Fi Man, the current version of these that are about $300, the HE400. Two of the most fascinating headphones I've seen this year. These are Odyssey Signs, and these are kind of a really interesting because
you're cradling them there.
Well, because they're about $600.
Okay, yeah,
if I drop them, I'm going to have to pay for them. Again, they have the sort of luxurious, I've strapped a BMW to my head. But these are interesting because they're planar magnetics, but they're sealed, which is a little more unusual. So you can get the planar magnetic experience. These sound pretty amazing. They're a little uncomfortable for me because these sit more on my ears than around them because my ears are huge. But my personal favorite headphones right now, these are a painful $600, which is nothing. By the way, a lot of people think the best headphones in the world right now, they came out from Focal, they're the Utopia, they're $4,000. I can pretty much stop speaking there because you're probably not going to buy them. But these are pretty amazing. A lot of people think these sound like headphones that should cost a lot more money. These are Audioquest Nighthawks, and these are what I'm doing most of my listening with right now. These are dynamic. They have a speaker inside of them. And they're interesting because they made some design decisions when they engineered them where it's not quite, you know, one of the things that people are like, oh, the planar magnetics have the most brilliant and sparkling highs. And while brilliant and sparkling may be what audiophiles want, it may not be actually be how audio sounds like in the real world. And these sound very natural. Now, some audiophiles be like, well, they sound muddy. I think they sound amazing, and they have one of the most, you know, it's one of those things where I put these on and my head starts shaking, and 4 hours later I realized I was supposed to take out the garbage, do the dishes, walk the dog, and actually write a segment. And then I put these down and go do all the things I was supposed to do. So these are Audioquest Nighthawks. They sell for about $600.
You know, people ask me a lot about this because we've done podcasting episodes on know-how, and they say, well, what do you listen to? And they're expecting me to tell them what to buy, and I say, look, okay, I can tell you what I use. My favorites right now are the Audio-Technica M50s and the Audio-Technica M7Rs. Those things are beautiful. They're not that pricey. And then if I want something that can also be used for gaming, I use something like the Kingston HyperX. They've got the Cloud and the Cloud Revolver 2. Very comfortable, very nice sounding, but that's me. I mean, do you get that sometimes when people are saying, well, how can I hear like you hear?
That's the best thing about headphones right now is there are more awesome headphones for less money than there have ever been before, right? And it's really, really great. But if I took two people and I put these Hi-Fi Man HE400s on them, the Audioquest Nighthawks, there would probably be two very, very different reactions. You know, my wife actually prefers these because, you know, she finds them less fatiguing. It's not as bright. It's not as in her face. A lot of people listen to these and they're like, I can hear I think someone in the third row of the orchestra just adjusted their hairband. This is amazing, right? And at some level, it gets a little ridiculous when especially if you start hanging out with audio enthusiasts and they talk about what they're searching for. But the reality is you kind of go like, okay, it's an AM radio. I think that's Bob Marley. You know, it's an FM radio. It's Bob Marley and stuff's happening. There's background singers. And, oh, wow, I really like that bass line. I have a decent set of headphones. That's a kicking bass line. And I never realized there's a second guitar going in that track. And you get into sort of the audiophile stuff and you're like, you can kind of feel the entire room they're recording in. You can hear all of the voices. You can hear all of the information. You can hear all of the music that's actually recorded. And that's kind of the goal. And that's why people are like, I'm going to spend my children's college money on more audio gear.
And we love tech and we love specs, and I love the fact that this is continuing to develop at the pace where we can now get a very decent set for next to no money at all.
Yeah, 16 bucks.
And ultimately, though, it's going to come down to, well, what works for you? What's comfortable for you? What sounds good to you?
If you can, get to a place that has a bunch of headphones. For example, the big blue and yellow label
Best Buy.
Yeah. Best Buy, especially if they have one of the Magnolia Centers inside of them. They have a ton of headphones you can listen to. You know, I will say the mono prices, you're not going to get much better than this for the money. And if you have teenagers that destroy things, or you are a teenager that destroys things, mono price 8323s are great to go. Their earbuds suck. Sony Mdr 7506s are impossible to. You can try to kill them, but it takes effort.
No, we've had versions of that have been around for 20 years.
Yeah, and are still going strong, probably on their second, third set of ear pads. The Audio Technicas you have, those are a fantastic deal.
M50s, 7Rs.
Don't need to spend thousands. You may find you want to, but for under $100, you can get some amazing stuff.
I will say, have you ever tried the tech library where you can check stuff out for a while and then try it? And it's a great way to try headphones. You've never tried the tech library?
There's so many things in life.
I think it's called Amazon Prime. Just get all the headphones you want, try them on, and then send them back. It's free, it's Prime, it's part of your subscription.
I'll tell you a story about the tech library and my wife someday. We don't do the tech library no more at my house.